Okie dokie. So today we are doing the low carb, high fat chicken Kievs. They are from the Skinny Mixes collection on Cookie Do. It's also a free recipe on the Skinny Mixes website. So if you don't have Cookie Do, if you've got a TM31 or a TM5 that doesn't have a cookie and you haven't taken advantage of the Cookie Do platform, you can access this recipe free. I will pop that link in the chat, but I'll do it later if that's okay, just so I can get started with this stuff now. As always, I'm going to be using my meal planning today to find the recipe. You can go in and simply swipe. I've gone the wrong way because I'm backwards. Swipe across and search anywhere on your TM6 to look for the recipe you're looking for. I'd also love to for you to pop in the chat which model thermomix you have, just so I can talk to the correct thing for you. Again, I think, Joanne, you've already got a TM6, so does Sharon. And then Leonie has one as well. Fantastic. So I'm pretty sure you're all TM6. I just don't, Fiona, and just Fiona, I don't think I've got yours either. So, and
no,
Fiona,
I've got a TM5, I think.
Fantastic. And who invited you along today?
Kerry.
Fantastic. Okay, great. So with your TM5, do you have the cook key?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So you can still access your recipes on Cookie Do and then send them to your meal plan and cook the same way I'm about to now. But in here, like I said, you can search and look at Cookie Do as if you're on a mobile device, which is fantastic. I love it because I can send the kids out to say, hey, do you want to cook some afternoon tea? They make Anzac biscuits or whatever. Out they come and do it. In fact, my daughter made caramel slice on Sunday all by herself. Let me tell you, that is not a safe one to have when you're in lockdown, but delicious nonetheless. So let's get cooking. Otherwise, we'll be here all day. Now, I'm going into my week and you'll see, I can't scroll, what I've got planned. So this is Friday. Friday, we've got lots of yummy snacks just organised. We haven't actually decided what we're cooking yet, but my daughter's going to cook with me on Friday because she's the queen of the snacks in our house and she's 9. So into the recipe, you can go through and look at all the ingredients. As you can probably see some of, I do have some of the ingredients already, well, all the ingredients already prepped here, but you can only see some of them. What I have done though, like I haven't decanted any of the spices and things. So you'll be able to see what it looks like with you doing all those bits and pieces. But you don't want to be sitting here waiting for me to run to the fridge and get the butter or the parmesan and things like that. So I've got that all ready to go. So if we go back up to the top, we'll start cooking. All right, and we're going to start straight away by milling our almonds. Now, as you all know, because everyone here is an owner, all the bits and pieces I'm going to be using, you'll get with your Thermomix if you were to get a TM6, which is pretty self-explanatory, but I'm doing that in case someone else is watching later that doesn't have a Thermomix yet. 100 grams of that next, and we'll mill that down. Just got to have a quick look for my measuring cup. There it is. I know I've met a couple of you already on some cooking live over the last week or so, and cooking classes before then as well. But I've lost my train of thought. No, I can't remember what I was going to say. Leave that out. So let's start adding our spices. We're going to pop our oregano in, so a teaspoon of that. Next, onion powder. So what we're doing at the moment is we're making the coating for the chicken, so the topping. You could simply use a standard crumb, half a teaspoon of sweet paprika, about that. But this one makes it the low carb, high fat version. So I have noticed some recipes online, and some of the suggested alternatives online are to use a breadcrumb, and you do get that golden crispy outside with the breadcrumb. So this one will look slightly different to that. A little bit of pepper. There's my pepper there. Next, all that goes in, and then we just chop it all down. Transfer into a large shallow bowl and set aside. So, I mean, I know you've all seen milled stuff before, but there's our milled almond with the spices mixed through, and that becomes our crumb coating. So just going to pop that into a bowl. Get it all out. Yep. The best thing about this recipe is there's so many do not wash bowl steps. That comes from Skinny Mixes. Nicolene Riddle is a very firm advocate for trying not to wash the bowl as much as you don't have to, so which is really great. Now we're going to add our parmesan, 100 grams of that. And my tip here is probably not with the almonds in it if you've got any allergies in your house, but if you wanted to get some extra parmesan grated for your fridge or freezer, do a double of this, mill it down now, separate it out so that you put the stuff back in the fridge or freezer that you want to keep for later, and then you've got whatever you need into the actual recipe. It's just one of those time-saving things. If you're going to be milling, you might as well get what you need for other recipes done and have that all ready to go. Right. Same thing again, grating that. Next. We're going to pop that in a separate bowl because we use it in a couple of different ways later. So pop that in here. If you ever get anything sticking at the base of the bowl, like around the blades, give the blades a little twizzle with the nozzle at the bottom to just move anything off the bottom. Next. Now we want our butter. So 100 grams of salted butter. I can't remember if this is salted butter now. I think this is salted butter. I bought salted butter specifically for this recipe. I tend to only buy unsalted butter so that it covers everything. And then if I do need salt, I'll add in a little bit of salt into the butter kind to make it salted butter. However, you could buy salted butter like I did. So I made these last week to just make sure I was confident doing it. So I kept the other half for this. But again, each to their own, whichever you prefer. Garlic cloves. They seem to have escaped me. Give me 1 second. I know why, because I made mashed potato last night and I like to put garlic in my mashed potato. And that means that we stole from the garlic bowl. I'm just quickly chopping up getting the skin off the garlic. Does anyone else find that some garlic is really simple, which thankfully these ones were today, but then some can be really fiddly? So I'm using 3 cloves. They are fairly big, but I do like garlic and it's going to be the delicious stuff in there. Now with parsley, my other tip for today is if you freeze your herbs like I do, make sure you label them. I have a number of bags of green stuff in my freezer drawer that I'm yet to work out what exactly is in there. Hello to those who've joined in after I started. I can see there's a few more people in. We better just tear that back to 0. For those who maybe don't know what we're doing low carb, high fat chicken Kievs today. You can make these into standard Kievs with a standard crumb if you choose to, but we are following the recipe today. And I'm going to share some links with you later with some ideas for other fillings to do as well. So we want about 10 grams of parsley and our basil. Now you'll notice my basil looks a little worse for wear. This is what it looks like when it comes out of the fridge and defrosts. So I allowed it to defrost. You don't need to let it defrost. So if you use it out of the freezer, it would be greener. Sorry, I meant freezer. Perfectly fine. All the flavor is still there, and they are actually still really. They went in the freezer really fresh. But again, I want to show you that's actually normal. They still have the flavor in there, as long as they haven't been in there too long. But it's a great way to store things when you don't want to waste them. Now, thyme, interesting. So I used lemon thyme the other day when I made them, and I realized I don't like thyme. So I'm going to leave the thyme out today. I'm going to pop a little bit of extra spinach in. There was a little bit of extra basil as well. But like I said, you can make this your own. I just don't want to make it again with that lemon thyme because I didn't like it. For those who I shared this with, I don't really like lemon. I've grown to like lemon with cooking it with it fresh, but something about the lemon thyme in this was a bit too not for me. So we'll just quickly chop that down as well. Making it into a herb butter, basically. For those who've just joined us, if you can hear me, I'd love you to pop in the chat who invited you along today and what model therm mix you have. Oh, Sam. Hey, Sam. Leonie, I just saw your message about your almonds being in the freezer. That's a great place to keep your almonds because it keeps them for longer. And yes, you can use them straight from the freezer. All right. So I don't know if you heard that, but it actually had stopped. Like everything had flung to the sides of the bowl. So nothing was actually happening in there. So let's see what our next step is. Transfer to a separate bowl and set aside. So this is our butter for later. Here's another tip I'm going to share with you. Let me just make some room on here. I'm just going, oh, yep, you can see that. Excellent. Oh, Minette, you've just got your TM6. That's fantastic. So what I'm going to do is actually put my herb butter onto my thermomat, my oven mat. If you didn't have one of these, you could use some baking paper. I tried using Glad Wrap the other day, but I don't like my Glad Wrap anyway, so that might be the same for others. It was a bit flimsy, so I prefer to do it this way. So this is how I'm going to show you. If you don't have one of these mats, you can get one as a host. Just for hosting, you can get a significant discount on one of these mats with our other thermomat as well. So I'd encourage you to do that if you're thinking about getting one. So I'm going to make it into a log. So hopefully you can see that. I've just sort of popped it on the mat and just then sort of rolling it into a log. Probably could have wet the mat first, but you can see there that oh, hang on, wrong camera. I've got a nice little log. What that does is then enables me to nice and simply, it's a little bit sticky. I would probably, if I was doing this at home, I would make it like I've done it now as a log, pop it in the fridge just for a little bit so that you've got a firmer consistency. But you can see there I've been able to easily divide it up into the 6 because the 6 is going to serve us for our, how many Kievs we're making today. So pop them there like that. I'll set that out of the way and we'll continue on with our recipe. Gee, I'll go to lick my finger all the time. Let's just bring this cloth over here. All right, next. Again, my favorite step, do not rinse the mixing bowl. So you've got the leftovers of that herb butter in the mixing bowl. Next, and we're going to add our chicken. So we are using chicken breast in this recipe. I find I don't often use chicken breast in many of my recipes, so it's a bit of a novel change to be using breast. Pop that all in. Just going to wash my hands because of that. I am going to get dirty hands today with that chicken, but I just will keep washing, rinsing them off. Next, egg. Oh, I really am a messy egg cracker. Sure, there's someone got any tips for cracking eggs without making a massive mess on your bench? Teaspoon of salt. Next, preserved Parmesan cheese. So here's all our cheese. So like I said, if you had done a double batch, make sure you've taken that half out that you want to put in the fridge or freezer, and then you're putting the rest of that cheese into this. 20 grams of the crumb. So this is just going to help bind it a little bit. I'll just use this spoon. There we go. Now, while the Thermomix does weigh in 1 gram increments, it is helpful, especially for those who've got a TM5, to put in like a decent amount at a time when you know you've got to go to a reasonable amount, so it weighs correctly. Pop that lid back on. Our measuring cup. And we're just going to mix that together now, mincing it up as we go. All right, what have we got in the chat there? Leonie's daughter's getting a TM6 tomorrow. That's fantastic. Felicity, you've got a TM6 and Jenny invited you. Welcome. Awesome. And Manette, who's your consultant from memory? Is it Michelle Gatt? Same for you, Sue. I'd love to know who your consultant is as well. I think you'd probably answer that in the registration questions though, but nice to capture it here too. How long have we got? 8 seconds. Excellent. All right. Our trusty thermo server. My oven is already on, and it's on, I'll show you why, but it is already on. I have a baking tray line. So I have the rose gold baking trays from the mix shop. And I've actually got the tray liners. So for those who've been around for a while, you might have been using your oven mat to line your trays, but these are designed to fit on the inside perfectly. Can you see that? So they stick to the bottom. So never need to buy baking paper again for this purpose. I do use it for cakes and things sometimes and other bits and pieces, but I use so much less of it now because I've got these tray liners, which are fantastic. Got that done. Using damp hands, divide the chicken into 6 portions, approximately 100 grams each. Okay, so we're going to shape them now. So in the interest of time, I'm only going to shape one and show you what we do with just the one, because otherwise, again, you could be here all day. So I will grab a portion out. Now, if you want to be, what's the word? Particular, accurate, specific, whatever the word you want to use is, you can pop your scales on, weigh the whole amount of mince that you have, and then divide that by 6. Now, that is far too much because it said I only need about 100 grams, I thought, but that'll do. That feels okay. Pop that back in there. All right, now I'm just going to angle you a bit here. Ooh, hopefully that made it worse. I'll just bring that forward. So I'm just going to rinse that chicken off my hand that I just got on there and keep my hands wet. So I've actually got a thermoserver of wet water here to help me out. And so the instructions are, let's get rid of those scales with wet hands. That's going to be helpful. Touchscreen doesn't like having wet hands. You want to flatten each portion to the size of your palm and about 1 centimeter thick, then put some butter in the middle and fold it into its bowl. So wet my hand again slightly. I found the trick with this is to actually having quite damp hands. So first of all, you want to make it so that it is compact, because that's going to form the outer coating of the chicken Kiev. And for those who've had chicken Kievs before that may have oozed out all the juiciness from the inside, that might be why. So we want to make it into a patty on your hand, about the size of your palm. I've got little hands, so I try and make it a little bit bigger than my hand. So it's reasonably thin, like so like that. And then we grab a bit of our butter. I make it into a little bit of a ball. You don't really have to, but I find it easier to make a shape out of. And then you're just closing the chicken around the ball and shaping it. And with those wet hands, what it enables you to do is make it like there's no seam. So you don't want to have an outside seam where it can pop open. So you just keep sort of moving it around in your hand to make it so that there's no spaces for that nice garlic goodness to ooze out from the side. All right, so that's our shaped Kiev with the butter inside. Next, once you've done that, you roll each Kiev in the crumb. So here's our crumb. I'll bring it forward. I might just move that mat out of the way. There we go. So we're going to roll it into the crumb. And what you would do is obviously you'd shape all of your balls first, and then you would do your first batch of crumb rolling, take that out, do all the other 5, come back, and then roll it in crumb again. You're giving it a second crumb to really coat it. Just threw some on the floor, so that there's no sort of wet spots and you get that nice crunchy outer. So that's I'm going to use the bowl as well, a double coated crumb. All right, now the next step is really important, particularly if you like the colouring to be on your Kiev. And I've just realised I haven't actually turned my fry pan on. So give me 1 second. Just wash these hands properly this time. Not hospital properly, but just properly enough to get all that chicken off. Anyone here is a nurse? Okay, now I'm going to just move you over. Oh, let me turn that on first. I can start warming up while I move you. Okay, so don't know why I've got this plugged in. Let me just You're coming with me. Excuse my messy kitchen. Okay, stay. Hi, we're over here in the kitchen. So we're going to just quickly brown both sides of the Kiev in here. Your oil should be hot before you put it in, so we'll just sit that there. What I'll do while that's doing that is actually show you one I prepared earlier. So like I said earlier, this is something I actually cooked last week on Thursday. And because I wanted to keep some to show you, because it does have to go in the oven after this step, is I made some to kept some to show you. So let me just get a plate. This one. I don't know why, but I'm going to use a bowl because it was just there. So we'll just get some tongs. So here is our cooked one. I'm going to pop it in the bowl here, like so. I then have some delicious sweet potato mash I whipped up in my other Thermomix before we got started. It's a fantastic accompaniment to this recipe. Oh, I've just killed my stovetop. Hang on. I put the hot tray on it. Okay, let's try that again. So yeah, we're going to get our silky mash out on the side. If you haven't thought, if you can't tell, I haven't actually had lunch yet. This is exactly what I'm having for lunch today. Bit of silky mash. And then the last thing I prepared earlier, just running over here. Just realized oops, don't mind me, is some greens. So pop the greens in there as well. I want that sitting that way. There we go. So I just did some not sweet potatoes, some broccoli and some sweet pea, snow peas. And that is my lunch. So the step before you get to cooking it though. Now I can't see any of the chat over here. So if there is anything in the chat, Sam, I'd love you to read it out to me. I've got the oil, you can see it's quite hot now. So that's good. We pop our chicken Kiev. Yes, I can hear someone talking out there.
And somebody just asked, you could get to that point and then freeze them and then just take them out and bake them.
Absolutely. What I did though, I chose to, what did I choose to do? I chose to cook them all the way and then freeze them so that they could be a really quick meal. And so I'll show you what that looks like now when I cut it open, because I haven't actually done that before. Other people will make them, like you say, all the way through to this point and freeze them. Some people cook them through to what we're about to do and freeze them there before going in the oven. So it really is each to your own. I was a little bit concerned that by freezing them, I guess it depends on if you're going to defrost them or not. When you freeze something, they go a little bit soggy. So I was a bit worried that they would go soggy. So with the stove, you only want to do, that's too long. Look at me. This is what happens when I cook without my Thermomix. So I've probably browned that. It's probably actually, I reckon I've got that spot on. And then I'll put it the other way down. So you're only doing a couple of minutes each side. I had my stove up too high because I was trying to get it hot really quickly. So that was a bit of a fail, but that happens when I don't use the Thermomix. Nice and crunchy, exactly. So if we come down here and look at my lunch, let's give it a cut open. Oh, did you see that? You probably didn't because my knife was in the way. It's bursting with all that delicious, let me bring it up closer, delicious green buttery goodness. It just squirted out the top as I sliced it open. So all that yummy butter and green herby things are coming out there. So once you've browned, and the other thing I did too is the first couple I did, I only browned on the front and the back, but I decided that I actually like the color on all the sides, and I think the kids are more used to seeing that sort of all-round color because they're used to the breadcrumb coating. So yeah, so once we do these 4 sides, we then simply pop it on the tray and they go in the oven. And the Thermomix tells us how long they go in the oven for. It's not very long. Like so. And because it is breast, you really don't want to overcook it because, as you know, breast can go quite dry because it doesn't have a lot of fat content and stuff in there. So it's important to not overcook the breast. I think I've done a great job.
Cooking a little bit quicker because you've only got one in there, not 6. So,
that's true too. And I'm using a small pan today as well.
Yeah.
Just to make it simple. But I had the power boost on, Sam, to just get it hot, and then I forgot it was still on when I started cooking. I don't do the stove very often. So then that's all sort of, can you see that colour? So I've browned it off. This is actually better than the first batch I did. You guys are getting a show today. So that's all done. And then we just pop that into an oven that's at 180 degrees. Don't mind me, straight down here. Into the oven there. I'm just literally going to cook this one through and I'll do the rest of the batch later. Let me take you back over to the Thermomix now. We'll check how long they have to be in there. And I can answer any other questions. Gosh, look at all that mess in my kitchen. Gosh, now on video forevermore. All right, that'll do. On the side. All right, so our Thermomix says divide it, coat it, do the second coat, place into the frying pan over medium-high heat and add oil. Working in batches so you only do 2 or 3 at a time. Sorry, I really am on a slant now. Turning them frequently, getting them golden brown on the outside. Taking care not to overcook. Then they go into the oven for 10 minutes. Or until cooked through. And then we serve them. Rest for 5 minutes before serving. Low carb side of choice. So again, if you are following a low carb diet, you would know best what things are going to suit that. I'm not entirely sure sweet potatoes on that list, but I am not following a low carb, high fat diet, so I will thoroughly enjoy it anyway. And yeah, serve it with whatever you like. And it's gluten-free as well. That's right. There's no gluten in that either. Obviously, like I said, you can do just a regular crumb. I actually don't have any crumb. Otherwise, I would have just done one of those as an example as well. And so what I'm going to share with you now, let me just show you the website. Skinny mixes. Let's just take the, one moment, I'll take the spotlight off there. Can you all see the screen?
Yeah.
Excellent. So this is am I on the right one? No, this one here is the recipe. So I'll just copy that and pop the link in the chat for you. Let's give you that link to everyone. So that's the recipe for the actual Kievs themselves. So again, those who don't have a TM6 or cookie dough, you can get the recipe for free here. But because we collaborated with Nicolene, she shared this recipe with us to put on cookie dough, which means you've got that guided cooking. And then I wanted to take you to the second page that I've got up here, and I'll copy that link as well, because this one has some great ideas for stuff filling. So I'd love you to put in the chat any ideas you've already had for putting on the inside of your Kievs. These are the suggestions that the Skinny Mixer community came up with, and I'm not going to read them all out because there's thousands, but there are just so many different options to making them fit your family. So one I liked, I think there's actually a picture of it, must be on this page. Sorry, my internet's not keeping up with me. Is a pesto filling. Pesto looked delicious. These people have done the Kievs and then topped them with tomato and cheese. Delicious. Lots of different options. There's the instructions for reading them out. Nutritional value and things as well, if you need to see that. Look at that, delicious. Easy butter. All right, so that's where they are on the Skinny Mixers page for anyone who wants to learn about that. We're going for time. Look at that, half an hour, and we've got dinner almost done. Obviously, I've only got one at this point, but any questions coming through? Just can't find the chat bar. Here we go. There were some things in the chat before. Nice and crunchy. Yep, freeze it the step before frying. Fantastic. Cheese and bacon, yeah, that'd be yummy too. So many different options. So, and again, your accompaniments, you could be doing what I've done, which is a sweet potato mash and greens. You could be having a regular mash, which actually I had last night, with veggies again, or you could be doing chips on the side. I mean, it used to have chips at the bistro when I used to get the chicken Kiev at the bistro. So chips and salad, chips and veggies, all the different options. You can make them into smaller balls too, with a smaller amount of the thing, and have them a bit more like kind of like meatballs, I guess. They would obviously cook a lot faster, so keep that in mind. Fantastic. Leonie's looking forward to making it. Any other questions from anybody else? Thanks, Hannah. That was great. Excellent. I think everybody here is an owner, so I'm not going to bore you with the gift with purchase at the moment, because you don't need to know that. Hopefully you already know all about our host rewards. Thanks, Jenny. Go and sneak back into work without getting in trouble. Excellent. Well, have fabulous Tuesdays. I'm cooking again on Friday and waiting anxiously apparently tomorrow to find out whether I'm in lockdown next week, because that will just give me a bit of an idea about what my timetable will look like in terms of work and family and things like that. So if I have time, I'll definitely be bringing more of these. I really actually enjoy cooking and sharing with all of you, and yeah, hopeful that I can do more of it. So thank you, everyone. Nice to see you as well, Joanne. Have a fabulous Tuesday. Gosh,